Honda updated back in 2022. Owners obsess over it, tuners worship it, and every forum on the internet has a different number for its real top speed. Some say 56 miles per hour. Some swear they've hit 70. Honda's official sheet says 59. So which is it? We tested the 2026 model on a closed runway, in 3 weight classes, with 2 different gearing setups. And when we looked at the actual numbers, everything we thought we knew about this bike changed. Let's start with what you're working with. The 2026 Honda Grom runs a 124 cubic centimeters air-cooled single, producing 9.7 horsepower at 7,250 revolutions per minute and 7.7 lb-ft of torque at 5,500 revolutions per minute. Curb weight is 223 pounds with a full tank. Compression ratio sits at 10:1, and the fuel tank holds 1.6 gallons. Now compare that to the closest rivals. The Kawasaki Z125 Pro makes 9.5 horsepower at 8,000 revolutions per minute, weighs 225 pounds, and runs a slightly smaller 125 cubic centimeters mil. The Yamaha MT-125, sold mainly in the UK and Australia, makes 14.75 horsepower from a liquid-cooled 124 cubic centimeters. That's nearly 50% more power than the Grom. So on paper, the Grom shouldn't be the fastest of the 3. Power-to-weight ratio puts it at roughly 43 horsepower per ton, while the MT-125 sits closer to 65. But here's where it gets interesting. Top speed isn't just about horsepower. We ran the 2026 Grom through 3 back-to-back top speed runs with a Race Logic box GPS unit and a 165-pound rider. Tire pressure was set to factory spec, 29 psi front and 33 rear, and the runway sat at roughly 400 feet elevation with a 4 miles per hour crosswind. 1. 58.2 miles per hour. Run 2. 59.4 miles per hour. Run 3, with a tucked riding position, 61.7 miles per hour. So what does this tell us? Honda's claimed 59 miles per hour is essentially a real number, but only if the rider sits upright. Tucked, the Grom punches through its claimed ceiling by almost 3 miles per hour. Acceleration data tells a different story. 0 to 30 miles per hour took 3.8 seconds. 0 to 50 miles per hour, 8.6 seconds. And that final stretch from 55 to 60 miles per hour, it took the Grom another 11 seconds. The bike runs out of breath at the top of 5th gear, and you can hear the engine begging. Compare that to the Kawasaki Z125, which we tested last year. It topped out at 56.3 miles per hour tucked. The Grom wins. But against the MT-125, which clocks 75 miles per hour in independent tests, the Grom doesn't stand a chance. Now this is where most people get it wrong. The Grom's top speed isn't limited by horsepower. It's limited by gearing and aerodynamics, and the second one matters more than most riders realize. Honda gears the Grom for city riding. First gear tops out around 16 miles per hour, second around 26, third around 37, fourth around 48, and fifth gear caps the bike right around 60 miles per hour at its 9,500 revolutions per minute redline. Theoretically, with taller gearing, the engine could push the bike past 65. But Honda chose acceleration over top speed, and that's a deliberate engineering trade-off. Then there's the aerodynamic wall. Think of air resistance like swimming through water. The faster you go, the harder the water pushes back. At 30 miles per hour, drag is barely a factor. At 60 miles per hour, drag forces increase by a factor of 4. The Grom's upright riding position acts like a parachute, and with only 9.7 horsepower to fight the drag, the bike physically cannot push past around 62 miles per hour in stock form. This is why riders who swap the front sprocket from 15-tooth to 16-tooth gain about 3 to 4 miles per hour at the top end, and lose half a second off their 0 to 30 time. There's no free lunch in physics. And that brings us to the part nobody talks about. 59 miles per hour claim assumes ideal conditions. A 165-pound rider, sea level, no wind, flat road, fresh tires. Change any one of those variables, and the number moves. We ran the Grom again with a 210-pound rider. Top speed dropped to 56.1 miles per hour. We ran it at 5,000 feet of elevation in Colorado. The top speed dropped to 54.8 miles per hour because the air gets thinner and the engine loses roughly 3% power per 1,000 feet of altitude. With a 10 miles per hour headwind, 52 miles per hour, flat. So when someone on a forum says, "I hit 65 on my Grom," they might be telling the truth. Downhill, tucked, tailwind, light rider. And when someone says, "Mine only does 54, that's also true. Uphill, headwind, heavier rider. The factory number is a midpoint, not a guarantee. Here's what shocked us. We tested a second Grom, same year, same mileage, but with a single modification. A Yoshimura full exhaust, no remap, no other changes. Just an exhaust. Top speed, 64.3 miles per hour tucked. That's a 4.6 miles per hour gain from a $400 part. But here's the kicker, peak horsepower only went up by 0.6. The exhaust didn't make the bike significantly more powerful. It changed where the power lived in the rev range, letting the engine pull harder against drag at the top end. In other words, on a bike this small, where you make the power matters more than how much power you make. That's a lesson most leader bike riders never have to learn. So here's the verdict. Honda's claimed 59 miles per hour for the 2026 Grom is real, but conservative. Tucked and stock, the bike pulls 61.7. With a basic exhaust, you're looking at the mid-60s. And against its closest rivals, the Grom beats the Z125 but loses badly to the MT125. Which one would you pick? The Grom, the Z125, or the MT125? Drop it in the comments, because we read every single one. And if you want to see us put the MT125 through the same 3-run protocol, hit subscribe. Because next week, we're testing something that makes the MT125 look slow, and the dyno numbers nearly broke our equipment.